Hey everybody, Model Man here, and this is an unexpected review. I was at the Kit Collectors International Model Show this past weekend, and I happened to find this new Colonial Viper for $27. I'm figuring that's a pretty good price no matter how you slice it. Repetitive artwork around the front and sides, a little bit of information in a few different shots, including what's pending. And the Cylon Raider is reported to be in scale with this, which is going to make it a monster. Looking interested to see what they do with the Galactica as well, but I won't believe that until I actually see it. The Galactica is a kit too long promised. There's a resin version from Timeslip, or there used to be a resin version from Timeslip for about $225, I think it was. Going back a few years. It's one I really would have loved to have gotten back when I could, but there's never really any money for it. Specifically, this is saying it's 1/32nd scale, and we'll be taking a quick look at some of the parts compared to this one on the layout. You know, even before I opened it up, it's definitely a really fat, heavy box, which is always nice, and it's looking pretty full as well. We'll take a look at the clear pits in a little bit. Bag with mostly engines and landing gear, which is a nice one. And we got the main body, a fin, and some guns, or a gun. And finally the rest of the wings and the fuselage with a decent looking booklet. Good painting guide back there. I'll definitely be building this with landing gear eventually. That's a aftermarket piece that I've wanted for a while, and of course I'll be lighting it up. Ah, nice. So this is the bit of art print from Ralph McQuarrie Concepts. And a sheet of standard looking decals. Looks like two different options. I'm sure they explain it in the directions, thin stripes and fat stripes. Everything else looks pretty singular overall though. So that's enough of a look at that stuff. Let's take a look at the plastic. Alright, so there's a few too many sprue to lay everything out all at once like I like to do usually. So we'll just take a look at one or two at a time, and we'll start with the clear ones. Looking over all the parts between the 30th anniversary Revell and the 35th anniversary Moebius, the one clear thing that stands immediately out is that the Revell could essentially sit inside of the Moebius, which means this is probably close to 1/35th scale, and then this is distinctly labeled as 1/32nd. So it is a significant difference, and we'll take a look at a couple of the parts next to each other in a few seconds. And we'll start with the canopy, and I don't know that it's really going to show up too well here, though it may in the reflections. The ridge of the canopy itself, there we are, does have rivets all over the place, which is a really nice touch compared to the old one, which is just smooth plastic. And while Revell came up with these three little flat discs to throw in their engines, Moebius stepped up with these three monsters here. And as for the stand, I still think the first one is probably the best one. It looked like this weird scorpion claw sort of thing. This is the new one, and for refreshers, here is the 30th anniversary version. So what I'm really looking forward to looking at is the intakes on these engines here. And the first sprue we'll take a look at has the landing gear down at the bottom here. Possibly the pilot seat there. However, specifically, we've got the fore and aft engine vents, exhaust nozzles, whatever you'd like to call them. The detail in the middle and the back here is pretty close, at least in spirit, or should I say this is in spirit, to this here, and I'm going to guess that Moebius did their research and this is the most accurate representation yet. This was definitely a big improvement from the previous setup, which I'm not going to unbox for this, simply because you can see the review that I've already done comparing the 30th to the original 1978 with firing missile. And straight off the bat, as I said, you can pretty much fit the Revell version inside of the Moebius version, so it's going to be that much bigger. The forward canopy is a little more difficult to show off the sides with, but the shapes are slightly different. The textures and details are definitely larger and more distinct. What I'm referring to there is the protrusions at the base of the vents compared to over here where they're set up with a rim of some sort. Next up, what we got here is we'll take a look at the one that you do not get with the Revell, the landing gear. There was an aftermarket version of landing gear out there at some point, and they were something I had been going to have to consider, because this is definitely a great way to set the model up, and I hope Moebius continues to release this even if they don't call it the 35th anniversary version anymore, because I'd like to get a couple more of these down the road someday, but not quite now, while they're fresh on the market. So over here, the pilot has already fallen off, and these two guys are looking pretty close to the same size, I gotta say. Yeah, there's not really much of a difference there, but really would have to see the whole body put together. Anyhow, the scribed panel lines and this little section here is really beautiful detail. They really did a nice job on that. As compared to the originals, which do have raised lines, however, it's not quite the same, and the detail isn't quite there. Let's line these up here. See the Moebius ahead by a nose, and just barely. The new guns are a distinct improvement. Some really nice details on them overall, compared to these old guns here. The old ones just don't stand a chance. The cockpit tub pretty much has a similar layout, but you would essentially expect that. The details on the interior look not too bad. I don't know that I could get any good contrast here to be able to show them off very well. It's probably about as good as it'll get. And I would definitely say that's comparable to this kind of detail here. These new engine scoops are beautifully detailed. Essentially similar to these, but not quite exactly the same. These have better, sharper angles on them, and a nicer line. The engine fuselage details are definitely nice. Again, all the scribing is really great touch, as compared to the raised lines here. And I would say the details are somewhat similar. I definitely fudged them on here, but they're close. And here on the bottom sled, very similar, slightly different positions on stuff, but pretty close. I really like having the landing gear available now. That's really going to change things. And finally, let's take a look at some of these wings. Even before I get them too close, I can tell just how much bigger the Moebius wing is than the Revell one. This is really nice. Details, panel lines, I'd call them pretty much a dead match overall. Just about. There's one or two slight differences, but everything's in the same place and scribed the same. Of course, this is raised lines over here. I haven't been much of a Moebius fan simply because of their concentration on Irwin Allen. There's a couple nice pieces in there, the Jupiter 2, the upcoming robot, so on. But overall, it's been a company that I haven't paid too much attention to, and when I heard they got the Battlestar license, I was like, be nice if Revell kept it, but okay, they got it. Let's see what they do with it. And I gotta say, they've definitely hit one out of the park with the Viper here. The only qualm I have with it is this cheesy looking artwork, which looks like they just applied some kind of cheap oil paint filter to a photograph and made it look all crappy. Either go with a photo or an outright painting. Kind of middle of the road. It made me think that maybe that was distortion in the plastic. But that's just me. And really, I am exceptionally happy with this model. I gotta say that, definitely. Very, very happy. And if they can deliver on a Cylon Raider at 132, holy crap. And Battlestar Galactica herself, that's the one. Lots of promise there, but we'll see. So, definitely a purchase. I am very happy that I can put this one next to my 1978 and my 2008 Vipers as well. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. This is a really great model to look forward to. See ya.